I was peeling stickers off a bunch of bananas at the checkout when my daughter-in-law, Kira, slid my wallet out from under my palm and handed it to the cashier herself. "We're simplifying things, Maggie," she said pleasantly, like we were discussing spices. "One card for household purchases, and I'll handle returns." The cashier blinked at me, then at Kira's manicure. I could feel the eyes behind us, neighbors from our condo building who know me from the library book cart, measuring my silence like it was evidence I should be managed. I said nothing. I'm 70, a retired payroll clerk from the public library, a woman who can balance a budget down to the penny, but who also knows what it looks like when an older woman makes a scene at a grocery store. My son Aaron appeared beside us with the tote bags and a grin too wide. "Mom, this way I can help," he said, cheerful the way men are when they have no idea what they've taken. As Kira tucked my card into a little metal case in her purse, a case with color-coded slots and labels like mortgage, utilities, and I noticed, Margaret, medical, a folded slip fell out. A postal form, half completed, change of address from Margaret Doyle to 42 Sycamore, attention, Aaron Doyle. I looked at it long enough for the cashier to clear her throat. And when we walked out, the postmaster's assistant, Donna, who has known me since she was 12, stepped away from the counter and tucked a business card into my bag without looking me in the eye. "You forgot this last time, Mrs. Doyle," she murmured. On the back, she had scribbled, "Someone filed forward on your mail." "Did you ask?" I hadn't. I wish I could say my hands shook from age as I pulled the card across the parking lot, but it was fury, neat and quiet like ink. I decided then that if they wanted me to be a burden, for once I would oblige them on my terms. The bananas went in my fridge. Donna's card went on the table with a bank alert that pinged my phone as I set down the milk. New payee added, Harbor Equity Reverse Loans. I don't drink, but I poured a glass of water and held it with both hands until my heartbeat slowed. I wasn't going to harbor anything alone. Humiliations multiply in small rooms. In the condo elevator, Kira pressed the button for our floor with one hand and scrolled through my patient portal with the other. "I'll confirm your appointment with Dr. Lee," she said, like a nurse. "And we should discuss assisted living options before something happens." In the lobby, Lorraine from the homeowners board waved her newsletter and whispered, "Saw Aaron measuring your balcony. Expansion plans?" I smiled so hard my molars hurt. I didn't order expansion. At family dinner, Kira handed me a care plan in a cheerful binder. "We'll be your financial caretakers, Maggie. You can focus on crocheting and walks." So kind. And a signature page slid out beneath my plate like a placemat. Power of attorney, durable, effective immediately. I lifted my fork. "This roast is overdone, dear," I said. She laughed. "I'll learn," she said, and reached to steady my hand as if I were shaking. I let her. The rule of our world is simple. Papers are weapons if you don't read them. I had taught new librarians to scrutinize invoices and never sign anything tired. I slept badly anyway. The next morning, a letter arrived addressed to Estate of Margaret Doyle. Not Ms., not resident. Estate. Inside, a pre-approval for a reverse mortgage, the kind that eats homes quietly. At the bottom, a line. Referral courtesy, G. Whitcomb. My sister Grace. We'd spoken twice since my husband died. She had called last month to say, "Kira's a lifesaver. She's got buyers lined up for your place." I said nothing then, and everything curled in me now. At the clinic, Dr. Lee's nurse whispered that someone had called asking for my cognitive assessment for the bank. I asked who. "A Mr. Whitcomb," she said, hesitating. "My brother-in-law Gordon, Grace's husband, a retired contractor with a fondness for fast deals." Dr. Lee walked in and looked at me over her glasses. "Do you want a capacity evaluation, Margaret?" she asked. I surprised both of us. "Yes," I said. "I want something recent and signed that says I can decide for myself." She raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" I nodded. "I want to be very clear that I'm a burden only if I choose to be." Back home, the building superintendent, Miguel, caught me in the hallway. "Mrs. Doyle, I fixed that loose latch on your storage locker," he said, then looked embarrassed. And, I saved the footage from last Tuesday in case you need it. Someone with a hand truck tried the door. Left with a file box. He glanced toward Aaron's door across the hall. He didn't say the name. He didn't have to. I rested my palm on his sleeve. Thank you for seeing, I said. Keep it for now. That afternoon, Aaron brought in a stack of glossy brochures and a smile. We booked a tour for you on Saturday, Mom. Sycamore Pines, the one with the koi pond. He cleared his throat. It'll be easier for everyone. Kira set down chamomile tea in front of me like she'd learned it in a class. You'll love it. Less paperwork. Less stress. I sipped. Will there be a pond for my mail? I asked. They didn't laugh. And just then my phone buzzed again. New beneficiary added to account ending 4821, Aaron Doyle. I slid the screen face down. We were past polite. And Saturday was very close. I lay awake and made a list in my head like I used to before budget hearings. It calmed me to stack facts. First, someone filed a mail forward. Second, there was a reverse mortgage inquiry with my sister's name on it. Third, a new beneficiary had been added to my savings without me. Fourth, there was storage room footage with a hand truck and a file box. Fifth, Kira had my wallet and my care plan binder. At 8 sharp, I walked to the legal aid clinic 2 blocks from the library, where I spent half my life. The receptionist looked at my trembling hands and slid tissues toward me. I didn't take them. Elder law, please, I said. I need to stop a deed I haven't signed yet. A woman in a blue sweater with hair like a rook's nest came out, May Patel, attorney, and beckoned me in. I laid down Donna's card, the bank alerts, the reverse mortgage letter, and the names. May listened like a person who makes grocery lists for strangers in crisis, brisk and kind, no small talk. We'll do 3 things today, she said, ticking them off with a pencil. 1. Revoke any power of attorney you may have signed or that someone might produce, and file the revocation with your bank and the county. 2. Set up a revocable trust and transfer your condo into it this afternoon. Quick, clean, and it makes quitclaim tricks useless. 3. Execute a Lady Bird deed, an enhanced life estate, so even if they rush a transfer, your right to live there cannot be touched. She looked at me. Do you want to be more of a burden? I surprised myself again. Absolutely, I said. I want to be such a burden that any financial institution hesitates before they touch my name. We moved. May typed, I signed, slow and careful. She called the recorder and asked for a late appointment. She printed a POA revocation on cream paper that felt thicker than fear. Then she did something that startled me with its simplicity. Call your bank, she said, handing me her office phone on speaker. Put a note on your account in your own voice. No beneficiary changes or payees without me in person. We did. The banker, a woman named Carla who had cashed my checks since the Clinton administration, added the note and read it back. I felt 10 years taller. On the way out, I stopped at the post office. Donna opened the drawer and pulled out the change of address form with my name forged in a careful, wrong slant. We flagged it, she whispered. I needed to see her face before I canceled it. I kissed her cheek. Do you still need a witness to your signature? She asked. I have a slow line. I signed and she stamped, and then she slid a sticky note across the counter. A man named Gordon asked if we'd be flexible about forwarding your packages, she wrote. I told him we're not a gym. That evening, I did one more thing. I told Kira I was overwhelmed and asked Sweet as Honey if I could stay with them for a few days while I get used to the idea of Sycamore Pines. She glowed. Of course. We'll bring your important papers over so nothing gets misplaced, she said, foolish enough to believe that this was finally submission. I brought my overnight bag and left my new trust documents with May at her office like a baby in a basket on a church step. If they wanted me under their roof, I was going to watch their hands. At midnight, thirsty, I walked to their kitchen for a glass of water and found Kira at the table with my care plan binder open, flipping to a page I hadn't seen, Representative Pay Social Security. She looked up, startled, then recovered. I'm just trying to streamline your benefits, she said. They prefer a family member to manage things for someone, like you. She let the like you hang. I nodded. I'm lucky to have you, I said warmly, and went back to the guest room where I texted May. They're applying to be my payee. Is that a thing? May replied, it is. It requires them to account for every dollar. Let them try. I slept the thinnest sleep and dreamed of file boxes on wheels. In the morning, the file box was in their living room. Aaron had labeled everything with new tabs: doctor, bank, insurance, estate. I poured coffee and watched them bustle like stagehands. We'll have a family meeting at the church hall on Sunday, he said, eyes shining. Pastor Tom offers counseling rooms. We'll talk through Sycamore, beneficiaries, all that. He hugged me. You'll see, Mom. It'll all be organized. Behind his shoulder, Kira smiled with pressed lips and texted someone. I didn't need to ask who. Sunday would be crowded. The only thing that rattled me that day was a missing envelope, my original deed folder from the storage locker. Miguel's footage flashed. Hand truck, file box, that door. I checked the guest room drawer where I'd stashed the spare flash drive of my husband's last voicemail. The drive was there, which meant Kira's fingers hadn't found everything. Still, the empty space where the deed should have been felt like a pulled tooth. That was my cliff. Either they were going to push me off it on Sunday, or I was going to bring them to the edge first. The church hall smelled like coffee and floor wax, the exact scent of bake sales and town meetings. Kira had arranged chairs in a circle. Grace and Gordon arrived with a Tupperware of lemon squares and faces set in sympathy. Gordon shook my hand as if we were closing. This is for the best, Maggie, he murmured, breath sweet. I've seen 100 families make the same mistake, wait too long. Pastor Tom nodded at me kindly, unreadable, used to complicated Sundays. Aaron opened with a speech about safety and stress. We want Mom to enjoy her golden years without paperwork. Kira lifted the binder and turned to the plan quitclaim of my condo to Aaron and Kira for estate efficiency, reverse mortgage to fund care, beneficiary updates to simplify, and assigned POA. She didn't blush. We're not taking, she said. We're protecting. Grace patted my knee. I told Kira about Harbor Equity, she said, looking at the lemon squares like they might absolve her. They helped our neighbor. I looked at her hand and noticed the manicure I'd seen too recently for a woman who complains about cost. A little lift in my stomach said, follow the money. Before we decide on pawns and binders, I said, rising slowly, I would like to show something. May had been quiet in the back, a new face in a church hall where everyone knows everyone. She stepped forward now and laid copies on the folding table. Trust certificate, life estate deed, POA revocation. She spoke in that calm voice lawyers get when they know the room will turn in 10 seconds. These were executed yesterday. Title to Ms. Doyle's condo is now held by her trust. Her right to reside is reserved for life. Any power of attorney is revoked. Any attempt to use one today would be rejected by the bank and, I assure you, by the recorder. You could feel the air thicken. Aaron blinked. But we made an appointment with the title company, he said. They're expecting the quitclaim. May shrugged. They'll be expecting a phone call canceling it. And then she nodded toward the doorway. Mrs. Doyle, would you like to invite your other guests? Donna slipped in, hair tucked under a USPS cap, and held up a form. Someone tried to forward Mrs. Doyle's mail, she said, voice steady. We do not process those without verifying identity. The handwriting is not hers. She put the form on the table next to the lemon squares like something sour that belonged there. Miguel followed, a little nervous in his clean work shirt, and held up a flash drive. Our building cameras recorded Mr. Doyle removing a file box from Mrs. Doyle's storage at 11:49 p.m. Tuesday. He looked at Aaron, then down, ashamed. He passed the drive to Pastor Tom, who slipped it into the office laptop without a word. Kira rallied. We were organizing for her. She said brightly, the brightness of a woman used to retail counters and easy returns. She loses things. Ask her doctor. Dr. Lee stood from the last row where she'd slipped in quietly and lifted a single page. Capacity assessment, conducted yesterday, she said. Margaret is fully capable of managing her affairs. This is signed and in her chart. The room's murmur shifted toward me like a tide. I wasn't finished. Grace, I said softly, and held up the pre-approval letter with referral courtesy. G. Whitcomb. What did Harbor Equity pay you to send them my name? Her mouth opened and closed. Nothing, she said, too fast. May slid a bank statement across the table, printed from a public database of recorded referral payouts in the state. She had highlighted a line, lead fee, Whitcomb Contracting, $2, $500. Grace's cheeks went white, then red. Gordon sputtered. That was for consulting, he said. I was helping. May's eyes didn't leave his. You were helping yourself. Kira's last card was the Social Security representative payee application. Fine, she snapped. Then at least let us handle your check. Yes, I said, steady as a ledger. Please do. She brightened, victory glinting, and May slid a pamphlet into the center of the table like a trump. Being a representative payee is public and audited, she said. You must account for every dollar and keep receipts. There's a criminal penalty for misuse. Kira's smile faltered. We'll do it right, she said, but it sounded like a question. May nodded at Pastor Tom. As a witness and someone the court trusts, could you oversee the first 90 days of their accounting, Pastor? His yes landed like a bell. Aaron sank into his chair. Mom, we didn't want you to be alone, he whispered, shame crawling up his neck. Then you should have come for bananas, I said. Not for my mail. And in the quiet that followed, someone shifted behind me. It was Donna, with a small envelope. One more thing, Mrs. Doyle, she said. A check from Harbor Equity Leads, made out to G. Whitcomb, was misdelivered to your box last week. I didn't open it, but the amount shows in the window. She laid it flat, the number winking at us like a confession. Grace put her face in her hands. The room did not applaud. It breathed. Kira looked around, calculating the angles, and realized there were none left. The lemon squares trembled in their plastic lid. I stood very still, like the clerk I used to be when a councilman tried to get me to fudge numbers and I didn't. Someone had to be the adult in the room. This time it was me. Consequences didn't hit like thunder. They arrived in envelopes. The title company sent a letter noting transaction canceled by owner. Social Security denied Kira's pay application after she missed the class on fiduciary duties. May had reminded them to notice her missed training. The bank locked beneficiary changes permanently behind an in-person visit with me and a branch manager present, documented in a memo that Carla clipped to my file with a pink paperclip I now love like a lucky charm. Miguel's footage and Donna's form found their way to the HOA, which issued Aaron a formal censure for unauthorized after-hours access to storage. It seemed small until he asked the board for permission to renovate, and they reminded him that trust is a kind of currency too, and his balance was overdrawn. Gordon lost a small consulting gig when someone at church quietly suggested he not be in charge of elderly clients anymore. Grace stopped baking for a while. I didn't miss the lemon squares. I did something I had promised myself if I got out of this upright. I started a Tuesday table at the library called Paper with Margaret. 2 hours, one folding table, and a sign that says, "Bring the form you're afraid of." People came with envelopes like bombs. We opened them. We read out loud. We practiced 3 sentences until they felt like muscle memory. Show me the contract. I'll think overnight. Put that in writing with your name. Sometimes Kira would walk past the glass doors of the reading room and glance in. The first time she did, she looked small. Aaron came on Sundays. We ate stew in silence for 3 weeks. Then, one afternoon, he put down his spoon and said, I applied to volunteer at Sycamore Pines, not because of you, because of me. I nodded. You'll be good at changing light bulbs for people who can't reach, I said. He laughed and cried in one sound. I wanted it to be easy, he said. For me. I didn't say I knew. I just slid the leftover stew into a container, like I had every Sunday of his boyhood, and pressed it into his hands to take home. That small mercy felt right, like interest paid. The condo feels more mine now than when I signed the deed years ago. I changed the smoke alarm battery myself and labeled my file boxes the way I like them, with green tabs for keep and red for questions. I gave Donna a gift card and she grinned like a kid. Miguel brought up a new lock for my storage unit, and we installed it together in a companionable quiet that tasted better than lemon squares. On my fridge, I stuck Dr. Lee's capacity letter with a magnet shaped like a banana because it made me laugh and because I could. If there's a moral, it's small enough to fit on Donna's sticky note. Ask the boring question. Ask it out loud, in a room where coffee smells like floor wax and everyone thinks someone else will do the right thing. Then hold the paper steady when hands shake, yours or theirs, and read it together. I'll be at the table on Tuesday if you want company. Bring the form you're afraid of. Bring your pen. I'll bring mine.